We'll go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to this afternoon's meeting where we will review the action items that will be formally addressed next Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. right here at City Hall. I'll call upon our city manager, Mr. Bill Burrow, to review those action items. Bill?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the board. First item under your consent agenda is Resolution R23-118, a resolution authorizing the filing and acceptance of an environmental initiatives grant from Entergy, and our Assistant City Engineer, Mike Hill, will present the item.
Afternoon, Board. The first grant that we have this afternoon is an energy grant. It's environmental initiatives grant from Energy for protecting the environment. Where we propose to use this is just on the other side of TV Hill underneath the Martin Luther King bypass. That will be the next portion of the Greenway Trail. What this will do is allow us to put some foundation type riprap along the creek there to protect the existing vents in the water and stabilize the slope, and then put a 12-foot concrete trail up there to help to stabilize the horizontal portion for where our trail is going to go. And then we'll be able to use that portion of this grant in our next trail section. The grant itself is for $96,082, and there's a no match to this grant.
Very good. Any questions of Mike? Thank you.
Okay.
Next item is Resolution R23-119, a resolution authorizing the filing and acceptance of grant funding through the Blue and You Foundation. And again, Mr. Hill.
Okay, this grant is to also in the same area of TV Hill is where the Gene Wallace Trailhead is going. We're proposing to put a concrete slab in that will have 10 pieces of workout equipment. 5 of those pieces will be ADA accessible. Also a large shade kite that will go over top of it to make it easier to work out in the summertime. And this is part of something from Blue Cross Blue Shield, their grant arm. It's a separate entity, but Blue Cross Blue Shield funds it. And this is to help increase activities along the trail, draw more people to the trailhead, and just give an avenue for more exercise along the trail, and something different to do. I do need to point out one thing that as we were working on the grant today, I need to mention that putting in for the grant, we need to submit the director's 2002 statement of financial interest that you've already applied and given to the city to make sure, or to show there's no conflict of interest. This is really not for city typically, but it's part of the grant because they're the nonprofits they put in, they want to make sure there's not a conflict of interest. So that would be one thing we'll make sure that you're aware of. And this grant would be for $71,000, and it's also a non-matching grant.
Very good. Any questions of Mike on this resolution? Thank you.
Okay.
Next item is Resolution R23-120, a resolution authorizing the filing and acceptance of a grant application for fiscal year 2023 Safe Streets and Roads for All SS4A program through the U.S. Department of Transportation. And again, Mr. Hill.
All right. This is a planning and demonstration grant that funds an action plan. There's basically 3 main things we're getting out of this plan. One is a plan to come up with projects that will give us more projects to go into another portion. This grant comes before another grant. So this is a planning grant, and we try to show the safety initiatives and projects that need to be done in the city. It will also fund a dashboard, which is used as supplemental planning. In that dashboard, we plan on showing our crash data in a map form so people can see where there's accidents and places that we need to work on. It will also show information like our paving projects. So we've had a lot of questions this past year about where is all the paving money going. People could go to this website and they can go back through the years and see how much money and where the money was spent. So it's more transparency towards the public, and that's part of our plan so people can see where we're spending our traffic money. And then the third part is a demonstration project, and we plan on doing extra striping, like enhanced sidewalks and more striping where possibly streets where we don't normally put striping. Put those on streets in disadvantaged areas. The grant people are really looking for us to do demonstration projects, and they say we get more points if we can put that in areas that have been disadvantaged in the past. So that's where we're going to focus our money, on the demonstration projects. The total funding would be $350. $280,000 would be the grant portion. Our portion is $70,000, but only $20,000 is cash. The other $50,000 is in-kind services, with us working with the consultants to develop the plan.
Any questions on this resolution? Director
Thank you,
Garcia.
Mayor. I just wanted to inquire on the disadvantaged for definition for striping, if there are a number of pedestrians and people that use motorized wheelchairs, and there's no striping, is that a potential area that could be striped?
Well, those are basically defined by the federal government in certain tracks systems. So
Oh.
we're kind of limited to get the points. We really have to say that we're going to be pushing our demonstration project in a disadvantaged area that they define. So really, it's not that we couldn't do something with our own city forces. That if we find a need, we can do that with our own safe streets for all money. But for this particular one, we need to stay in what they're defining as disadvantaged areas.
Okay, and that's available online too?
Yes.
Thank you.
And this particular planning grant, I mean, there are some really serious dollars out there under this SS4 grant, and I think, what was the number we were looking at? 10 million.
Yeah,
in future.
The second part is where you fund the action plans, and that's where you start getting into the millions of dollars that they come forward. And we've already have some ideas of what we want to look at, and that's where our time is going to come in with the consultants developing the plan, developing the projects, and then fine-tuning those projects to make them attractive to the selection committee, and so that we can show that they're providing safety, because this main thing is for safety. It's not so much moving people as it is making the streets safer. What that could mean, changing the signal lights. It could mean adding additional access to get some traffic off one area. Maybe the one area is like Belding. If we could punch Belding through to Malvern, we could get a lot of truck traffic going off of Grand and take a shortcut there and get that off of some of our really busy streets. So that's kind of what we're looking at in those kind of
Oh,
projects.
that'd be great.
Director
you.
Webb.
Thank you, Mayor. Would this include state roads too? Or would this grant just be applicable for roads that are maintained by the city?
This would be city stuff, but it could be some things on the state highways. For example, another project that we're really interested in is our traffic light signals. A lot of the equipment for those traffic lights are very old, and we need to be replacing them very soon. And most of those are on state highways. So but we have control of the lights. So this would pay to upgrade the lights and come up with a new timing system, which would help keep traffic flowing safely. So yes, it would be some on some state routes, but mostly city routes.
So if part one of the plan, which includes an action plan for us to take moving forward, identifies some safety features that need to be addressed by the city, is part two of this grant application, let me rephrase that. Would part two of the grant process be applicable funds to address the safety concerns with the action plan?
Yes.
Let's say if they're saying, hey, you need to take this light down and instead move it over here 10 feet, and I'm only giving a hypothetical scenario. In order to do that, it's going to cost money.
Yes.
Would those funds to do that particular project as a result of the action plan be acquired through the second grant?
Yeah, it would be the
Could
second
be.
grant. I wouldn't say second part, because it's a whole nother part and a whole nother grant. It's still Safe Streets for All. It's under the same program, but we'll be applying for another grant. And yes, we would be referencing the information in the planning grant for the next grant.
And that would, so the planning grant will determine how much we request or ask for from the next grant?
Yes, the planning grant will develop the projects and also show how this project can make something safer.
Kind of helps justify why we're asking for
Right.
that set amount too, right?
To actually get to that second grant, you have to have this first one. You
Okay.
have to have an action plan to make things safer first, and then we can apply for the big money.
Thank you.
Director Trustee.
Thank you, Mayor. Mike, will this plan be approved or declined? Is it something that you submit and the Department of Transportation says we accept this and there's possibilities here and ask us to apply for the second grant?
Well, they wouldn't ask us to apply for the second grant,
Okay.
but, the first grant actually is not the Department of Transportation, it doesn't go through RDOT. I guess I shouldn't say
Okay.
it's not the Department of Transportation, it's not RDOT, it's got to go straight to the federal government itself.
That's what's, the
Yeah.
U.S. Department of
U.S.
Transportation.
Department of
Yeah,
Transportation.
Right.
When I think I
I
think
get
RDOT,
it.
but RDOT's completely out of this.
Right,
They don't have
right.
anything to do with this. This is directly with the feds. And then, yes, once if we get approved for this, we get to develop the action plan. And then it's a whole nother process. They don't tell us but everybody who's doing these grants are going to be putting in for those second grants.
Right.
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 And that's why we want to really develop a strong action plan so that we can sell the projects in the next grant.
And on the action plan side, do you anticipate 3 projects, 12 projects? I mean, what are you shooting for when we do this?
I anticipate a good handful of projects.
Okay.
I mean, I think it depends on the consultant we get, but
Okay.
I just 2 right off the top of my head,
Right.
things we know about. And as they start studying things, Gary has all kinds of ideas. So
Okay.
I'm going to say he's probably got 5 in his back pocket right now without even going through the study. But this
Okay.
is actually going to be studying where our bottlenecks are, what the problems are, where the crashes are occurring.
Right.
It could be anything from enhanced striping to possibly another hawk system somewhere. If we're having a particular problem in an intersection, that may be, another hawk system that we're going to be doing down at Bath. There's numerous things that we could be doing, and the consultant's going to help us work through those options.
Okay. And then last question, what's the timeline on submitting this?
This one
Grant
has to be
application.
submitted, it's like, I believe, July 17th,
Okay.
I believe is the submittal date.
Okay. So we'll have to have those consultants very quickly.
Well, no, this, July 17th is submittal for this grant, and then we'll.
For the plan, just for the
Right,
grant itself, to
and
do the
they'll-
plan.
Later this year, they'll announce, who wins, and then we will immediately try to get a consultant under contract, because we would love to be able to have a whole plan ready to go for next year. And it's going to be very difficult to get a whole action plan done by the time these grants are due next year for the implementation grant. But our goal is to get someone on board this year and come up with a plan so that we can submit for the second grant next year.
Right, and that, your comment there goes back to my first question, whether it's approved or disapproved. You said they determine who wins.
Right.
And who doesn't win. So that's approved or not approved in my mind. So-
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right.
Competitive.
Yeah, very good. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. Any further questions? Thank you, Mike.
Next item is Resolution R23-121. Consider resolution approving an agreement for information systems professional services with ThinkGuard LLC for essential managed cybersecurity services, and our Information Systems Director, Jeff Winter, will present the item.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, as you all are aware, every computer you have pretty much has antivirus software on it. So, what this contract is actually, we discovered years ago that antivirus was integral, or super important. But obviously, the other thing that we found out was that we didn't have the staff to necessarily manage that AV software. So we hired a third-party consultant, and we've had that for 4 or 5 years now. They call that a managed data service based versus an endpoint protection platform. So what this contract involves is those two pieces. So we're looking at, we've had the other ones for several years. Back in February, we started looking at how reliable and how good ours was, and comparing it to the other, market leaders. And so as part of that process, we came up with an SOQ, and part of that SOQ was to evaluate 5 folks. And so in this process, we looked at 5 different vendors, and this contract that we're bringing for you here is the vendor that we chose for that SOQ process. And basically what it boils down to is 669 endpoints that we're protecting, and then the managed service to oversee that protection. And basically what they do is they got security professionals that are all day, every day looking at the events that happen on our computers, and then if they see a serious enough event, they can even turn it off for us, or they can call us, or they can email us and say, hey, these are the things you need to be aware of. Because unfortunately, I got some really smart folks that work for me, but we don't know what we don't know. So ultimately, you may be focusing on something that's not super priority when there's actually something else out there that really is a higher priority. So this proposal is a 3-year proposal, and what you'll see is in year 1 we're going to pay it's $29,970, and then the subsequent years will be $59,941 change. So it's really about a $60,000 a year contract for 3 years. With part of it the first year and part of it the last year. So we're asking you guys to look at this and allow us to move forward with that. So any questions?
Any
about
questions
that?
of Jeff? Director Garcia?
Thank you, Mayor. Is this a new vendor?
So this particular vendor is out of Birmingham, Alabama. It's a relatively small company that I actually met them about 5 years ago and have been talking to them for multiple years at conferences, a couple of different IT conferences I've gone to. And so again, I encouraged them to bid. We actually had, like I said, from all over the U.S. bid. So.
And will they report to you what any attempts of going through the firewall or trying to get into any of the city's data?
Sure. So what you'll see when you guys get your packet is the list of services that they're going to provide as part of this contract. And one of that is ongoing, everyday, regular, discussions with us. Another part of it is actually going to be they're going to help us develop policies and bigger plans. The current company that we have basically just looks over our antivirus and that's it. So this is a value add in that they're going to actually help us write policies, help us try to look at our firewalls, and they can actually monitor other things besides endpoints. And so as this moves forward, we may modify or amend this contract to include other services like that. But they're one of the neat things about this particular company is they focus on local government. So almost all their contracts, and as a matter of fact, I think they gave us 7 or 8 different references, and every one of them was a small government similar to us. So they focus on people like us and try to help, like I said, not just look at the antivirus, but look at the overarching security platforms and how we can improve those.
And that will include our water system, since it's.
Sorry?
And that will include our water system?
Sure. SCADA is included in that's obviously one of them, and public safety are probably the 2 highest priority systems that we have. Financial, coming right in there. So those are probably our highest priorities. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I think that'll help us be in compliance with some of the new regulations that any attempts we're supposed to have logged to show the auditors that we are tracking that, and we follow up so that they can see that.
Yes, ma'am. There were several bills passed this last session, and that's one of them that you're
That's one
referring.
of them.
And another one was related to us getting funding to help us overcome problems that we have. And in order to get those funds, you have to meet certain criteria, and this company is going to help us see what we're missing and help us get to there. That's one of the goals with this contract as well.
Very good. Thank you.
Sure.
Director Webb, you had a question?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Will the specific details for the terms of the contract be included too in our packet?
Yes, sir, I believe so. Like I
They
said,
are.
it's about a page full of things saying that they'll do this and they'll do that.
Okay.
So, and if it's not specific enough, obviously reach out to me.
Contract will be in your packet, yes.
What-
Jeff, would you also share with the board the cost division between this, between our city and the county?
Sure. So the prices I mentioned a minute ago is the sum total, and the 669 endpoints is actually split about 50-50 between the city and the county. So half of those numbers are actually county budget as well. So of the 2023 budget, about 15K is city and about 15K is county. So we split. This is one of the things where it's very beneficial that we have, because our count goes up, and as our count goes up, the cost goes down per endpoint. So we're able to work together and combine those costs. So, and moving forward, it's 60K a year, and it's about 30 city and about 30 county.
Great. Very good. Any further questions? Thank you.
Thanks.
Next item is your only ordinance of the evening under your new business, and it's ordinance 2314, an ordinance amending Hot Springs Code 2-8-33 by repealing ordinance number 4020 as amended pertaining to the Arts Advisory Committee, and our city clerk, Harmony Morrissey, will explain this item.
Thank you. The Arts Advisory Committee was created in 1998, and it currently has 2-year terms with an expiration date of October 1st. The conversation about this committee actually came about because we're moving up the next round of appointments. So the Arts Advisory Committee, as it was set in 1998, has the same duties and responsibilities. What we're looking at doing, however, is adjusting the terms to align with Code Section 2830, which sets forth the general policies and procedures under which the other city advisory committees currently function. This section of the code does say that offices are divided into majority and minority divisions, with the minority divisions expiring May 1st of 2027 and the majority expiring May 1st, 2025, all with 4-year terms. So the proposed resolution simply adjusts these terms and expiration dates to mirror the other ones. Now, where I do have a question and need a little bit of guidance is the implementation of these changes. So there are kind of 2 options. This change could amend the expiration dates of the current committee members so that the current members who are in the majority their expiration date of their terms would move to May 1st of 25, and the minority terms would move to May of 27. Or we could open up all 7 positions at the next scheduled time that we're doing that, which is August. We have interviews set for August 8th with appointments made the next week. So we could open those all back up, encourage the current committee members to apply, as well as anybody else who's interested. And then according to Code Section 2830C, at the first meeting after the appointments, they could draw lots and then be assigned the terms. And that resolution could be written either way.
Did the committee have a preference?
Anthony is here. No. He's-
Okay.
Well, did the newest committee member that was appointed by us, when was that? Is that just this past spring?
Yes. So the Arts Advisory Committee's only having 2-year appointments. We bring those to you every year. So every year somebody's term is expiring in October. So this October, some would be expiring. So last October was the last round of appointments.
Well, if they're interested in continuing on, I would think that we would just,
Just renew.
move them right into this ordinance without having to have people reapply. Is that permitted?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it can be written however
And then-
That'd
the
be
board also
option
wishes.
1 that you explained.
Mhm.
Yeah, I agree.
So,
I agree, too.
and then the question's gonna be, who would be the minority group and who would be the majority group? So the person who just got appointed this past spring is a 2-year term, right?
Yes, so they already are pretty much divided into majority and minorities.
Right, I know
because
that, but I'm saying the people who just got appointed would probably be, well, you have what, how many, you have a 3 and a 4?
Yes, sir.
And,
So the current members, the current majority would expire in 25, and the current minority would expire in 27 if we just extended those terms.
sounds, Yeah.
I would prefer to see everyone, if they want to continue, to go ahead and reapply, because other than Karen Wiley and maybe Kara Gunter. The rest of them have been there for several terms. So I think by adding several years to everyone that's already there, I mean, there's not been a ton of turnover. So if they want to stay, it's not a big deal to reapply. They know how. But I think it would encourage other people to get involved if it's open to everybody, if everybody's asked to reapply. And then we just start new with 7 new people. Not 7 new people, whoever reapplies and the new people. But start new terms instead of just adding years onto service that's already been several years, multiple terms.
Would you still like to do that in the spring like all of the other advisory committees? Have them hold over until spring?
I'm fine with that. I mean, it makes it a little cleaner than having this kind of
Yes.
couple of months here. And so I guess it would essentially be the people who are expiring in October technically would be there until May, correct?
Yes.
And then all terms expire in May. All existing seats expire in May.
So new applications and draw new lots in the spring.
That's fine too. Everybody okay with that? My biggest fear always is having empty seats, and to the degree that they've expressed an interest and have served many years, one side of me says, don't give them an opportunity to quit, to resign, but at
Don't
the
show them
same
the door, they might take it.
You're right. And then the other side is, well, they'll probably all want to stay on because they've enjoyed doing it.
And yeah, they'd have that opportunity. I know a couple of other people who are interested in joining with the understanding that it was expiring in October. So I think those people may not be as interested if it's going to be 18 months
Yeah.
or so, so I think, and then also other people may be expecting to leave in October, not in May of 25. 'Cause
So basically, we'll reconstitute it in May and take applications, and we'll have veterans, and maybe we'll have some new interest.
And then it's not a surprise either if people, it's not like we're kicking everybody off in October. They've got some time to decide whether or not they want to reapply.
Director Webb?
Thank you, Mayor. I was just going to say that I don't see necessarily a problem with what's being recommended here. That essentially falls under, I think, option 2, right? Especially without us having any knowledge of what the committee feels they want to do, now. And with us maybe having some knowledge that there are others who want to serve on this particular committee. There's probably some validity in saying that if they knew they have an opportunity to serve right now, they probably would jump on it. But if we were to postpone that 18 months or so, yeah, it might cause somebody to just kind of disengage with that thought. So,
All right. Let's proceed as recommended by Director Holliday, unless there's some reason not to. Okay. Director Trustee, do you have a comment?
Thank you. Yes, I don't see a reason not to proceed that way. But do we have openings on this particular committee at this point?
There are no current openings,
No
but there are
current.
terms that would expire
Yes.
October 1st.
I thought that's what you said. I just want to be sure. Okay. All right, thank you.
Very good.
Just to confirm, everybody holds over until spring, right?
Then we go out for 7 individuals and draw lots on those who are selected. We
Yes,
might
sir.
have 12, 15 people throw their hat in. We're going to select 7, then they draw lots 3 and 4.
Yeah, just
Right.
like usual.
And get them on 4-year terms.
4 year.
Would it be 2-year and 4-year in May?
Initial
Yes.
term.
Yeah,
The
they would
first
draw
time
lots for a
forward.
2-year term or a 4-year term. Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
All right. So you got it?
Yes, sir, I think so.
Mayor, that's all the items for your meeting.
That's, we're going to have a relatively short short meeting, I think. Maybe not. You never know. We'll keep the car running and keep the air conditioning on, so. But, All right, well, there being no further business, you've got a full evening. You got a half an hour, 28
Come
minutes
on.
of used up today, so you got the rest. Director Garcia, you gonna
Can I
prolong
ask
the
a
meeting?
question?
Yes?
Will we be able to do any recognition for our volunteers that serve on all of our advisory committees and commissions this
And
year?
To do that at what time?
Well, we had, at our planning meetings, we've talked about adding that in. I thought we included that in our budget.
We do have some money in the budget. That's usually in the fall, so we're planning to try to do that.
That's great.
I should say Sheila's doing that.
Sheila's gonna do that.
Sheila's smiling, huh?
And employee recognition, great. I think that's fabulous.
All right.
Mayor, before we leave, I do want to make everyone aware that Minnie's last day with us is June the 23rd. She's moved that up a week, so it's kind of the end of a pay period and works out well. Brooke Gilbert will start with us on the 20th, so they'll have a few days to overlap and kind of see where the files are and be able to get around. But they'll have a few days to transition. But I do want to make everybody aware that the 23rd will be Minnie's last day. We'll be doing something in here for her, and you'll be getting more information. But I want to kind of make you aware of that now, so you can be planning on that.
Very good.
Over 40 years.
40 years. Seen a few changes in 40. Director Trustee.
Mayor, I'd just like to extend our condolences to Bill and Tanya at the passing of Tanya's sister, last Thursday?
Yes.
Wasn't it?
Yeah, we had the
So-
service. We had the service this morning.
I
so
thought the
thank you.
service was today, so
Yep.
our thoughts and prayers have been with you.
Thank you.
All right. There be no further action business. We are adjourned. Enjoy.